Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Chapter 6 Investment Planning. Alright, let's talk about making your money work for you. If you've ever wondered about that, you are in exactly the right place. Today we're going to map out your very first investment plan and we're going to treat this like a real journey, one that could totally change your financial future. So let's start with the big question. You work hard, you put money aside, but is just saving it in a bank account really going to be enough to hit those huge life goals? I mean, saving is absolutely critical. It's step one, but by itself, it often can't get you all the way there. And this is why. Just look at these numbers. Let's say you invest 2,400 ringgit a year. After 20 years in a savings account, getting maybe 3%, you'd have around 64,000 ringgit, which is pretty good. But if that same money got a 7% return from being invested, you'd have over 98,000. That is a 34,000 ringgit difference just by letting your money work harder. That is the power of investing right there. Which leads us perfectly into our first section. We've got to understand why our savings need a little bit of help. Think of this as the call to adventure for your money. It's that moment it leaves the safe harbor of a savings account and actually goes out into the world to grow. So where did that extra 34,000 ringgit even come from? Well, it all comes down to this one amazing idea, the time value of money. It's not just your money that's growing. It's that the returns you make start making their own returns. It's like a snowball rolling downhill. It's called compounding. And it is the real magic behind building wealth over time. Okay, so before your money goes on this big adventure, you need a map. And that map, well, it has to start with the traveler, which is you. So let's take a minute to figure out what kind of investor you actually are. To really define your goals, you got to ask some honest questions like, what is this money really for? Is it a down payment? Is it for retirement? Get specific. How much time do you have? And this one's huge. How much risk makes you feel kind of excited versus how much risk makes you want to lose sleep at night? Answering these questions turns a vague idea into a real concrete plan. You know, your own life situation is a really good guide for thinking about risk. For instance, if you're younger and you've got a secure job, you literally have decades to bounce back from any bumps in the market. So you might take on more risk for potentially higher growth. But if you're getting closer to retirement or maybe your income isn't as stable, safer investments probably make a lot more sense. So just take a look. Where do you see yourself on this spectrum? This all really boils down to a basic law of the risk-return trade-off. And put simply, it just means you can't get higher returns without being willing to accept higher risk. It's a trade-off. The goal is never to eliminate risk because that's impossible. The goal is to find the right amount of risk that really lines up with your goals and your timeline. All right? You know your goals, you know your risk tolerance. Now for the really fun part, actually building your portfolio. This is where we pick the tools and we make a plan of attack. Now, the single most important strategy we're going to talk about is asset allocation. Don't let the fancy term fool you. Just think of it like creating a recipe or a blueprint for your money. By deciding how much goes into different buckets, you're building a foundation that's designed to balance out that potential for growth with the need for safety. And here's what that blueprint can look like for a younger investor who's got a long way to go. The plan is usually heavy on stocks because they have the most potential to grow. Now, as you get closer to your goal, that mix would probably shift to be more conservative with a bigger slice for something like bonds. And don't worry, we're going to break down exactly what stocks and bonds are right now. This allocation, this is your roadmap. Okay, as promised, let's look at the tools. So stocks, or what some people call equities, they basically represent ownership. When you buy a share of a company, you literally become a tiny part owner. You're betting on that company's success and hoping the value of your piece of it goes up over time. This is the growth engine of your portfolio. Bonds, on the other hand, are pretty much just loans. You're lending money to a big company or even the government. And in return, they promise to pay you back with interest. They're generally safer than stocks and they provide that stability and predictable income to your portfolio. They're like the steady anchor on your journey. Now, for someone just starting out trying to pick individual stocks and bonds, it can feel like a lot. And that is where mutual funds are a total game changer. They pool money from tons of people and a professional manager invests it for everyone across dozens, maybe even hundreds of different things. So you get instant diversification, which is a huge risk management tool, making them a fantastic way for beginners to get started. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, risk. Every investment has it. But playing smart isn't about trying to get rid of risk completely. It's about understanding it and managing it so it works for you. See, risk isn't just one thing. It actually comes in a lot of different flavors. You've got inflation risk, which is where your money just doesn't buy as much as it used to. There's business risk, where one specific company you invested in fails. And then there's market risk, where the whole economy just kind of takes a dip. Understanding these different challenges is the first step to being ready for them. So with all these different risks out there, how do you defend your portfolio? Well, the most powerful strategy comes down to one simple diversification. You've heard it a million times, right? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. This is exactly what that means for your money. By spreading your investments out, a problem in one area won't sink your whole ship. And the tool you use to do this, yep, it all comes back to that asset allocation plan. That's your blueprint for diversification. Finally, let's wrap this up with the most important part of this whole plan, you. Your job doesn't end the second you make your first investment. No way. It's an ongoing process. So here it is, your action plan. A quick summary of everything we've talked about. You set realistic goals. You figure out how much you can invest. You check out the different options. You choose a diversified mix. And then, and this is so important, you monitor your investments and you keep good records. This is your personal feedback loop for success. And a huge part of monitoring your plan is just staying informed. Knowledge is your absolute best tool for managing risk. Use good, reputable sources to understand what's going on in the world. And with your investments, your role is to be an engaged, informed owner of your financial future. So we've covered the why, the what, and the how. Now the journey really begins, and it doesn't start with some giant, terrifying leap. It starts with one single manageable step. Yep. So the only real question left is this. What is your first step going to be?